Thank you so much.
So obviously, I want to talk about this film, but I'm so interested to hear about the story between your two films. We watched here when it came out, and I've been very excited to see what your next film was. So give us a sense of I guess the journey between your first feature film and getting to this point here.
Well, yeah, it is always a pleasure to be here in USC. I wish I was a student and came here. Was my dream. So it's amazing to be here with you guys, and thank you so much for coming and for the film. Yeah, after I finished Red I really wanted to do an English speaking film, just like to expand as a filmmaker. So at the time, we didn't have industry in Saudi Arabia, and there was no really something that I can grow from as an artist, and I really wanted to explore more opportunities. And my agent sent me Mary Shelley. So I was like, what? Like a drama period in England. I was like, do they know I'm from Saudi Arabia? That is the first question. And then when I read the script, it was amazing to see how struggled to have her voice as a woman and coming and she grew up in England when England was conservative and somehow not exactly like Saudi Arabia. No place on earth is like Saudi, but still, it reminded me how it is expected from women to be in a certain way and act in a certain way, and how it is hard for women to assert themselves or be who they are without like that kind of pressure. And I really sympathized with the story, and I really felt like it's a story I really wanted to tell.
Uh, I mean, obviously, the themes and her struggle, her journey, have very strong, sort of progressive feminist values. But you're right. You do have this sort of British period story, and I'm curious to know a little bit about how you prepared to tell the story of a culture that you're not from. I mean, not just time wise, and but also the country and.
Yeah. I think for me, it's only when approaching a film is to approach it from a character perspective. And that is how to unlock a script. It is, yeah, the surroundings might be like England and all that. But if you don't really find connection with the character, I feel as a filmmaker, or for me as a filmmaker, I cannot really it is not that challenge really to bring in the period, because you have a custom designer and you have like people who can do like the production, and there are people who are will bring in the period and will bring all the specificities that maybe I lack. But for me as a director, is always for me is to be with the character. If I sympathize with her, if I can find her strength and understand her journey. And when they sent me the script, really like the last part of the script was totally a love story, and I felt it is not only a love story; it's about this young woman. Asserting herself, so I contributed to the last part of the script where she goes to to the to the to the publishers, because when I started researching about her and knowing more, it is for me was very like it is heartbreaking that like a young person writes a story and then just gets dismissed from publishers and all that just because of her gender. And I thought it is very important to put in the script, and it wasn't originally there. And also, I felt it's very amazing to have Pilidori. Byron had a bigger role in the script at the beginning, and Byron is very sexist with all his like literally contribution. He's an amazing poet, but as a person, he is like. Ugh. So I really wanted to push Byron and bring Pilidori, because I felt, and Pilidori wasn't in the script at all, but I felt Pilidori is like he wasn't coming from the elite or like people who controlled the world, and still he was dismissed for his book. The Vampire also created pop culture and became like very famous, and he wasn't like copyright or intellectual property wasn't really clear at the time, so he didn't get the credit he needed. So I felt those two really they mirrored each other, and I felt it's very important to bring their story.
I, I've loved Frankenstein my whole life, and I've never really known much about Mary Shelley, and I didn't know how much of the story was a reflection of the experiences that she'd had in her life, and so I'm curious to know how much of that was there in the first draft. That this was a story that was going to sort of show the audience how this monster story was going to be sort of a manifestation of her own pain.
There was a lot of that. It was called The Storm of the Stars, so it was very romantic and a love story and all that. But it had the loss of a child and the problematic relationship with her parents and her heritage and all that. So it had that. But for me, it was very important also to dwell more on it, and because it is. I studied Mary Shelley as a kid, and but I never stopped at her. She was like another person, another writer, and like it wasn't for me. And I felt sad I did not stop at her. And I felt like, why not? Like, she created a genre. She went where a lot of people didn't go. And just like Pride and Prejudice was the most famous book. And it is an amazing book. And there is nothing to say to, but it was about love and marriage and social critique. And for us as women, we're expected to write something like that beautifully and masterfully. But sometimes we are not expected to question life, to question God, and have philosophy. It is sometimes there is limits on what we can do, and it is for me. We need to celebrate more of her, and we need to bring her more into the to the pub to everyday life, so young girls know and understand that they can conquer things and they can create genres and they can go and to frontiers that never been gone, and they can be the first and things like that. So yeah, and it's really frustrating when they say the book is masculine because it is really all about what she went through as a woman, a loss of child, and not having her mother, and like her relationship with her father and husband. So it is very feminine in a way, but yeah. So I hope that answers your question.
I mean, I would argue that the compassion of the creature is in itself a feminine characteristic. So tell us a little bit about um, some of the scenes in which you're sort of seeing the sort of scientific basis that sparks her imagination. Is that well researched, or is that sort of something exciting in the script form to sort of bring it to life?
Well, yeah, she came on the verge of scientific revolution where everything is becoming more like, like the human body and all that is becoming really more. And her fascination with that was amazing to capture. And and that is just, she was a product of that, of her era. And she went beyond and she created that amazing book. So for me, yeah. So I felt like as a woman, she was going somewhere that she wasn't allowed to, and that is, and even eloping with Percy and challenging her father, and just like going, and we didn't put a lot of what they did as kids in the script, because they did a lot. They went into like a tour around Europe and all that, and there is and it is not, for me, it is not right for a woman to elope with a married man. My morality, if my daughter comes to me and tell me I'm gonna run with a married man, I was like, I'm gonna have a heart attack now. But if it were, and especially coming from Saudi Arabia, I still have like right and wrong. But for me, like people who experiment with morality and go to the edge of life bring us something that we can do. As I feel, I'm a very ordinary person. I cannot experiment with life at that level, but some people can. And that is why we get, as a result, we get amazing literature and wonderful poetry and amazing songs and lyrics and stuff like that, when people just have a different existence. And and it is sometimes problematic for us regular people to accept what they do and why they do that. But it is important, I feel, sometimes to go beyond what is right and wrong and what is expected from us, and just break those boundaries, because humanity is way bigger than that in a way. So
Tell us a little bit about the cast. Obviously, you have a lot of fantastic young performers. I think Elle Fanning is fantastic. What was that like for you to assemble that cast?
well, yeah, when we were looking at actresses after I read the script, and Elle was amazing for us. Like I felt I was following Elle's performances in Super 8 and all that, and we wanted a young person because we wanted to shock the audiences in how young Mary Shelley is when she wrote the book. And it is kind of like and Elle has this effortless acting, like she's very elegant and she does not go like she's very subtle in her performance, and we wanted someone like that because this role can very much be melodramatic because of the loss of a child and all that relationship, and we wanted someone who can bring cinematic like level to it. And yeah, so we were excited when Elle, she was our first choice and she really loved the script. And then was the problem of casting Percy, because we wanted someone who has like this kind of boyish and like still lovable, and he's a man but still has this kind of recklessness in him. And it took us. We auditioned a lot of actors until we got Douglas Booth, and we put Elle and Douglas in the room, and we saw the chemistry. It was amazing. It was like we got our cast. It was a wonderful moment. Yeah.
And Tom?
Oh, Tom is amazing. I met Tom, and he's little, and Byron is big. So I was like, I'm not sure. Like, well, but he sent me what he saw the character is. And it's wonderful. It is like the first time I come from Saudi where we cast non-professional actors. And non-professional actors is usually you cast because they look like the character. And this is totally going against the type because he doesn't look like Byron with all that big, but he brought something like amazing to the character, the flamboyant and the like, all that. It was all from him, and he had such an amazing chemistry, not chemistry, energy. Like we went to a castle. We shooting the film is like I should say that. I'll take a detour. We got a lot of money from Dublin. Some money from Dublin, so we shot everything outside in Dublin because it looks like England. England was very snobbish and very expensive, so we weren't allowed to shoot there. And then we got so much money from Luxembourg, which looks nothing like England. So we ended up like making, building a studio in Luxembourg because we couldn't, but we have money, so we have to stay in Luxembourg. And then they had a certain rule that if you are off the border 30 miles, you can shoot either in France or Germany, which is amazing because they actually have something we can. So we went in France and we were in a castle in France, and I had Ben Hardy and Tom and Elle and Belle and Douglas, all those young actors. And the producer told me, "How are you going to control that set?" And it's like, I don't know. I'm gonna control those sets with all 5 young monkeys. I have no idea. And then and it is really challenging because I should be the director. You act better. And Tom came in there amazingly, and he has this amazing, like, he elevated everybody else. It was such like a play. They will go and improvise and have fun on the set. And it was such a wonderful for me as an actor, as a director, just like to witness that kind of energy where actors feed from each other and have so much fun just being on set and just giving everything. And there was a lot of improvisations. We couldn't put everything in there. And Douglas was really like, why? But like, it is it was wonderful to have that kind of energy on set.
Were you shooting the improv, or was it?
Oh yeah, we shot everything. But we couldn't put that there.
Were there certain things though that you drew inspiration from that came out of the improv?
It was basically, we have like the guidelines, we have everything. It is not like improvisation based on. It is just like taking things a little bit beyond, just having fun with the scene. And sometimes there's a lot of like homosexuality between Byron and Douglas, and and there is a hint of it we tried to put in there, but there was more in there we couldn't put. But there was so much, yeah.
You couldn't, or
No, you couldn't. There wasn't, there's so much to put in the story already. So we should have trimmed a little bit more. No, but yeah. No, not just because of it is, not because of anything like censorship. It's more of because of the story. Yeah, it was too much.
you're telling
Yeah.
a story, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about some of the more complicated production design elements, because obviously if you're shooting in Europe, they have obviously very skilled people to do things like period costumes and whatnot. But the opening scenes, the sort of the streets in where are they, in Scotland in the beginning?
Dublin was in Ireland.
Ireland. So tell us a little bit about what for you were the more complicated sets to build.
Yeah, the house and everything was very complicated and took a lot of money, because we built kind of we had a lot of construction to do. But really the challenge is not building, because I wasn't building, for the production designer build. But for me is the most challenging thing is to maintain the energy of acting, because actually Elle will open a door in Dublin, and then we'll take her the thing next moment in Luxembourg. So keeping the energy was more difficult. That is to maintain the consistency in acting and the energy of the scene and all that. For me, that was something is very important, and I have to keep an eye on. Other than the production, of course, but the costume or the production design, I had an amazing team that I relied on to bring in that, and that is what they should do, really. But just keeping the energy going and gluing everything was a challenge.
Tell us a little bit about the changes that you made from the first script that you read to the film that we just watched, because it sounds like you made some significant decisions in the latter half of the movie. But give us a sense of how it evolved from the first draft to the shooting script.
It evolved a lot. I don't know if you know about shooting scripts. It starts with white and then goes pink and then purple and golden. We have all those colors. Our shooting, the shooting script is rainbow. But it was very important to go through that, I feel. It's very... because for me also, I wanted the relationship between Claire, one of the very important scenes that I contributed to and was very dear to me is the last scene when Claire wants to go home, and her relationship with the book. I felt there must be a resolution between the two sisters, and this is very important. And the other scene that I felt is very important also for me, and when Claire was coming from the stairs and sitting together and hugging her sister and tell her one day we will go together and we will see the world. And he wanted to install that in young people, the desire to break away from everything. And this scene was, I wanted to pay homage to Wajda and put it on this roof, and they built me a roof, but it rained in Luxembourg, and the roof was ruined, and they told me, we cannot take the scene. I was like, what? We will take that scene. And I put it down, and they told me, you have only half an hour and one setup to take the scene. I was like, okay. So we put the camera on the stairs, on the studio, and just was only the only setup I could do it, when they came to, and I was really glad that I was able to spare half an hour for that scene. because it's very like it is problematic that to Claire, like the relationship with Claire and Byron, with Claire and Percy. But also, it's very important to show the relationship between the two sisters. The solidarity between women is very important.
Um, you mentioned non-professionals before when you were saying, as you might cast in films in Saudi. Uh, but you've also got a couple of different schools of acting between sort of American and British. And I'm curious, what are some of the constants as a director that work for you with actors, regardless of whether they come from a specific school of training and or are not professional?
American actors are amazing. Elle really has wonderful, superb craft, and so British actors too. I don't know. Saudis are very. We are good. We rely on more of like feelings than craft, which is totally different because when an actor comes with a craft, they elevate. They really elevate something. There is something that, and I was really privileged, and I felt so grateful to be in the presence of actors who've been doing this for so long and been doing all really with a craft, which is wonderful to see people just like bringing it to the screen. And it is amazing moment for me because I felt like you for amateur actor like actors, non-professional actors, you always need to supervise, you always need to be there for them to dictate the emotions and the shifts and all that because they can bring it, but sometimes they cannot see it, and you have always to be there for them to guide them through it. So for me, it's just like to see an actor who just like can bring it and take it to the next level. I was like, what? So it is really nice to deal with professional actors, and it is really nice for me not to be in the van in Saudi Arabia, and to be. I really appreciated the moment of. Being engaged with art only, not to worry about censorship and not to worry about anything and not to worry about it's right or wrong or being somewhere else. It is such a, I was very grateful for that moment to have fun with the film and just like enjoy being a director and work with actors and costumes, and that is all what matters. So it was a really wonderful moment for me.
I feel like Elle Fanning has an incredible understanding of the subtleties of a close up.
Yes.
And, she conveys so much with a twitch or a breath or a very, very minute facial gesture, facial movement. And I'm curious, how much of that, I mean, what kind of a director are you in terms of your relationship on set with the actors? Because when it's blown up on the big screen, of course, you see all of this. So when you're working with an actor who's that subtle in terms of bringing so much with really the smallest thing, are you watching directly, or do you need to see that on a larger screen? Are you someone who is looking at the video monitor, or do you just you sort of are you there on set directly with the actors?
I like to be direct with the actors, and so I don't sit with the village. I don't know if you know the village where the producers is, and they go there and discuss lunch and stuff. So I don't like. They do like discuss a lot of stuff on the village. So I don't like. I like to be with them, and they have sometimes a small monitor like next to the screen. They are reluctant to give me the monitor because I am very I fall a lot and I pump into things, so they don't give me the monitor so it doesn't break. But they have a small a small monitor which I really which is very much close to the actors, and I really enjoy being there because it's very. I feel if I felt it, if there is something that I felt and moved me, that people will do. I don't think we need to go big, and I don't think it is right for cinema. Really, like maybe in theater because you need to really be big, but in and that is from the first place why we chose Elle, because she has this quality of being effortless and elegant and have like this very subtle performance. And yeah, and I don't think we need to go big, especially in film.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the power of a performance. I'm just curious what that's like when you're witnessing it, in real dimensions as opposed to
Yeah.
blown up for the big screen, are there things that you discovered in the editing that you didn't see when you?
Oh, a lot. There's not with Elle, but with another actor whom I'm not going to say their name. He won't learn the lines before the thing, and he will he will learn the lines through the scene, and I was like so upset, and I was like, I'm gonna go to the trailer, tick tick tick. Did you learn the lines? I was just like, I'm scared to go into the trailer, but I'll go and I'll confront. And he will never learn the lines, and I was always like, because it throws other actors sometimes if he doesn't know, then you have to go through it and stuff like that. But through editing, I knew, like when I saw that, it was frustrating for me, like he was like not saying it the first take and all that. His lines are not perfect, but through, like when we were editing, it was amazing to see what he gave me. It was wonderful, and then I realized every actor comes with their own way and method, and I have to respect that, and I have to give them the space to be who they are as a director. I should not like expect them to be what I want them to be. I feel like as a director, I should empower the actor to give me what, to give him the space or her the space to give me the best of what they can, and to shelter that. So yeah, I felt so bad knocking a. It's like, did you learn the lines? And it's like he was lazy. Like I was like, what? So it didn't matter anyway. But like it is for me is a learning experience.
Wonderful. All right, let's take questions from you. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful film, very telling. Felt like I was in the period. Gorgeous music. Love to hear more about that. But we obviously is the film about famous writers, so we know their work. But did you make up all the personal talk, or did they have diaries that you got that from?
We made a lot of that, but I but I tried to go into the Mary Shelley's letters with Percy. And for me, it was amazing how peaceful towards the end they got together. Like she was telling him, I did this today. It's like very much about old people talking to each other. Like I went to and visited Aunt who else, and I did that, and I did this, and I took the garbage, and I took to that, like everyday life. And it is very, and that is what inspired the last scene when they came together after everything. Is just like the peacefulness of the relationship after everything happened. Like they became like just like married people, the companionship was amazing to see that it survived all this. So yeah, I tried to read and get closer to them and get to know their characters a little bit. Does that answer the question?
And the music.
Oh yeah, I love. She's Jamie Dornan's wife. So I was like, I don't know about Jamie Dornan's wife. I don't know about her music. It's too sweet. And then she did a demo, and it was amazing. It is still sweet, but it is very much organic. And for me, it is very important not to feel the music on top of the movie. You don't want to feel like now we're watching a score, right? You don't want it to overtake. And it was really nice that the music was beautiful and you enjoy it, but it is not taking away from the story. So yeah, I really loved working with Melly. She's Amelia. This is me.
Other questions? Yes.
Can you share, from your perspective, the significance of the stars and that scene that we kept seeing all the time?
Yeah, the significance of the stars.
It was called The Storm in the Stars, right? So that is coming from the original title of the film. But it's also about death and about her mother and about like her what is beyond life. And I think about the mystery and that is what it should mean. But yeah, so I hope that answers.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I checked, but I was wondering if there.
Yeah.
And when you said what that was the original title, I thought, oh, well, there you go, that's probably part of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
As a Saudi female director, of which I don't know of any other prominent female director before you, how much did you identify with Mary Shelley being like, at the forefront as a female, like one of the first telling those type of stories, as opposed to coming from a society where, men are much more dominant, and how you have been able to overcome that. And I find it very interesting, of you coming here and also, or also directing more, now globally with people outside of Saudi Arabia, and how do you view that, and how much freedom has that given to you, has that given you as a director?
No, I definitely sympathized with her story. I felt her story. That is why I wanted to 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 tell her story, because I think we should celebrate womanhood, and it should go across nations, and should go across everything, and that is, and as we have to create that legacy for us as women to move forward. And yeah, Saudi Arabia is very tough for women. Still, they changed, and we have movie theaters and all that. But still, it's a place where women need to assert themselves. And I feel it is important to tell stories of women. And I hope, like they sent me the press break, and there is a stop in Saudi Arabia. So I'm hoping that it will be shown in theaters in Saudi Arabia, and I hope young girls in Saudi Arabia go and see it, and see how they can be something more than what they think they can. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to stray too far from the film, but there has been a lot lately coming out about the developments in Saudi Arabia about trying to establish more of a film industry.
Yeah.
And I think that the USC School of Cinematic Arts is even participating in some consulting, as we had done years ago with the Red Sea Institute in Jordan. What are you, I mean, where is this? What is the situation like right now in terms of what they're trying to accomplish?
No, it was amazing. They called me and they told me, "Did the royal court call you?" And I was like, "I'm not ready to go to jail yet. What is happening?" And then I've been assigned to oversee like Saudi film development, and with the culture, the Ministry of Culture, and all that. And it was such an amazing moment for me, just like to be able to be, because I don't cover my hair. They know that who I am. It's like there's no secrets in here, do you know? like and it is amazing, like that I am there to provide, to hopefully to give more, to provide, like to help foster films of coming from Saudi Arabia that are meaningful, and empower women and young men also to tell their stories. It's very important to hear from them. It is not like about, it's not men versus women, but it is also important to hear how it is very, Saudi Arabia is very difficult place where young people struggle between embracing modernity and heavy weight of tradition and religion on them, and that is creates an amazing tension. And I would love to see that in their films, and hopefully we can make meaning films coming out from Saudi Arabia, and help them to develop those films and bring them to the world.
Yes.
Taking that back to Mary Shelley, didn't she make a difference because her book was such a success? She must have been wealthy from that, and so did she inspire other women at her time? And
I don't know if she became wealthy out of that.
well, it sold well.
It sold well, yeah.
I mean,
And but her,
rewards.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I hope she inspired me. She inspired women now, but in her generation, yeah, I don't. It took a while for Mary Shelley to be recognized, and that is really sad. And a lot of her work after that did not succeed as much too. So she did not like carry on the success. But I think I think what is the amazing thing about Mary Shelley is like she created a legacy, and the legacy was very much taken from her. We all know the monster, and Universal Studios, the green one with the bullets, is like the very famous. It's a very famous image, but you don't know anything about Mary Shelley or her life or how she created the book, and that is the sad thing. And that is what I hope hopefully this film, and there is a TV show that is being made about her, that we start now to give her more credit for that. And it is very important for women to contribute to giving her that credit, because it is important for us as women to to get that back and claim it, because it will help us. It will help us when we go and ask for a promotion. Like, she did something that is extraordinary, and she was dismissed, and she was the first to do something like that, and I can do it. And a lot, even me as a filmmaker, sometimes I go and compete with other male filmmakers, and I got dismissed just because of my gender. Because they want a more established filmmaker, and that means a middle-aged man who got opportunities more than me to direct studio films or bigger budget films. So we always have to compete against that. And that shouldn't make us angry as women. And I'm coming from Saudi Arabia, I should be the angriest person on earth. But should us work harder and assert ourselves and be ready to prove what we can do. And things like Mary Shelley, what she's done is something that help us to create that legacy and confidence to convince people and move forward.
Yes.
I just wanted to know, because this film is set a long time ago, but what do you think we can learn from this, and what do you think? Because when I was watching the film, I realized a lot of the topics are still relevant today in terms of, men having the power and, women always having to fight and, her recognition, obviously. And what do you hope that the viewers take away from this?
Exactly what you said. It is still happening. It is a very old film, and the situation is still happening until today. It is a very modern thing, and it is really sad. So yeah, it's about time to just move beyond that, hopefully.
Very much a time's up.
Yeah, time's up.
Thanks. I just love the film, and I love the way that you showed her really well, her kind of the influence of Mary Wollstonecraft, or her mother, even though, she had never really known her. Was there a lot more of that in the script, or less, or did you have to sacrifice any of that part? I didn't know it was just a few
So
little bits of it.
she's saying that she appreciated that there's acknowledgement of the influence of Mary's mother, and she was wondering if there was more of that in the original script, or if there were some things that had to be cut down for length.
No, actually, that scene I felt it's very important. The scene in the library, I wrote that scene, and I wanted to cut it. At the end, it was like too much preachy about her mom. We need to cut it, but the producer wanted it there. So, but for me, I felt cut a little bit at the end. I just felt, but it is. I think it is very important that she has that weight of her mother who fell in love, and her mother actually left Godwin for another man, and she did also all that sort of stuff. I wanted to show more somehow of how that weight of a scandal on her, and how because sometimes if there's a scandal in the family, you try to not to go there, right? You try to create a different path and becoming more conservative, maybe, and get more accepted. But she did not. We wanted to show a lot. There's so much in Mary's life. But with the film, we cannot show everything. That is the thing. It is already 2 hours and should be 1 hour and a half. There's so much there. And so we're hoping for TV to carry on and bring a lot more about Mary Shelley. But it was very important to bring the influence of her mother. Not only the influence, it's just her mother was the ultimate feminist in her era, right? So just to live up to that is big. And it is and it makes her an underdog somehow. So yeah.
It's in the back. You said Mary Shelley will be on TV. So what is it going to be on a streaming service, or is it going to be on regular, or is it going to be? I mean, where is it going to be shown?
I'm not involved with that at all, so I don't know.
Okay.
But I know it is the same Einstein, and they did
Genius.
Picasso,
Yeah.
Genius.
Yes.
So she's the new one, which is amazing. They did Einstein, at least a woman now, right? After two men. That is. So.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the process from script to screen and how you got all the funding together and made it happen?
The producer did that. So I didn't do much about. They bring me to meetings with the financiers, and I try to be nice and sassy and leave. But the actual work is done by the producers. I'm not very good at raising money for films.
So you
But-
were attached before
Before.
the funding came?
Yes, I was attached before money came, and it was a problematic film to raise fund. Like it was co-production, so we have some money coming from England. The BFI did an amazing job and gave us a lot of money, and then we got money from the Irish Film Institute, and then we got from Luxembourg Film Fund. And that is how the money came together. And I think there was private equity we raised towards the end just to fill in the gap. So I think a lot of independent films follow the same kind of formula, looking for money in Europe because they have a lot of public fundings. So, and there is a lot of like investment in like art projects. So that is how a lot of. It is so sad that a lot of independent films in the U.S. don't find homes, so they look for funding from Europe. And now Netflix is doing an amazing job and providing a lot of funding for independent film.
Yes.
Congratulations. It's a beautiful film. And your friends and your countrymen are probably very proud of you, no matter what, right? It seems like it's a difficult and not a glamorous job, but I'm so proud of seeing you do the work that you've done. There was a film in 2009 called Bright Star. Are you familiar with that? It was about a poet. I hope your film is successful. I love that film as well. And it was also a period piece, a very beautiful film. And somehow I compare the two films. You've done a tremendous job. Did you do research on Byron as well to portray him that way?
Yeah. I was surprised how sexist he was. So I was like, he had a bigger role. So I was like, I tried as much as possible because some of the producers loved Byron. It's like, we'll try as much as we can to get Byron out of the story. But I did research on Byron. It's amazing. Like, there's so much to learn about those people, right? But having said that, like, their poetry and everything is amazing and wonderful, and that is what. Yeah, no judgment there.
Well, let's help get people to the cinemas. This is opening on Friday, right?
Yes, Friday, 25th.
Do you know where you're opening
Cross.
here? In town? Do you know where you're opening?
Yeah, where? What cinemas you mean, or what?
Ah, yeah. Okay, so in Santa Monica. And then you're also going to be launching on demand,
Yeah.
I think the following week, right?
Yes.
But obviously go or tell people to go see it while it's in theaters.
Oh, thank you so much, guys, for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.